Join our community by subscribing. Every click helps us share more stories like this one. The introduction. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, nestled like a secret behind an immaculate row of freshly painted houses, lay Maplewood Drive. The pristine lawns and well-kept gardens whispered tales of routine, a crisp morning solace, accompanied by the chirps of birds welcoming the dawn. Yet, unbeknownst to the residents, a storm brewed that would uproot their delicate existence in ways they could scarcely imagine. It was a Tuesday morning in early April when curiosity turned to concern. As the sun crested the horizon, casting golden hues over the neighborhood, the mail carrier, a seasoned local named Ruth, noticed something amiss. The Thompson residence, typically a beacon of daily life, sat shrouded in silence. The white picket fence, once a symbol of domestic tranquility, looked lonely. The mailbox overflowed with letters, a sign that no one was home to retrieve them. Ruth's instincts kicked in, urging her to investigate. She approached the Thompsons' front door, a bold red, decorated with blooming wreaths that hinted at a cheerful family within. But now, the door stood steadfastly closed, locks glinting coldly in the morning light. Ruth rapped gently, her knuckles echoing against the wood, followed by an uneasy silence. She glanced around, searching for any sign of life. As she turned to leave, a chilling thought crept in. Had something happened to the family? With trepidation, she resolved to call their neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, her heart racing at the potential disruption of the fragile colony. Little did they know, a sinister chain of events had already begun to unfold, one that would unravel the threads of this seemingly idyllic community and reveal a darkness lurking just beneath the surface. The victim. In the heart of Maplewood Drive, the Thompsons were a family that embodied the ideal of suburban bliss. Jennifer Thompson, a vibrant woman in her early 30s, was the glue that held them together. Known for her infectious laughter and open-hearted spirit, she was a dedicated mother to her two children, 7-year-old Mark and 5-year-old Lily. On late afternoons, the trio could often be spotted playing in the backyard, laughter ringing like wind chimes through the neighborhood. But on that fateful Tuesday, Jennifer would not be found rejoicing in the sun. As Ruth stood at the threshold of their home, the family's absence felt like a gaping wound. It was unusual for Jennifer to go missing, especially without a word. Ruth recalled the last day she had seen her the previous Friday, Mary's weekly coffee date. The two had shared stories over steaming mugs, a bond woven with their discussions of motherhood, aspirations, and the mundane hum of daily life. Jennifer's husband, Dan, had always been a reserved man, more at home behind the pages of a book than in social gatherings. He would occasionally join the mothers in their conversations. Most evenings, he retreated into the sanctuary of his workshop at the rear of their property, tinkering with projects that never seemed to gather dust. Jennifer often spoke with pride about Dan's talent and his unyielding support for her dreams, mapped out like stars against the night sky. As Ruth's thoughts shifted, she felt an unsettling ripple in the air, a nagging doubt gnawing at her core. She dialed the local police department, her pulse quickening as she relayed the growing sense of urgency in her voice. By spending mere moments reflecting on the essence of their lives, she realized her unease was just the tip of an iceberg lurking beneath the tranquil facade. The investigation would soon reveal not just a missing person, but a complex web of relationships, secrets, and hidden pasts that would shape the unfolding tragedy. The crime scene. The police arrived with an efficient professionalism, their vehicles forming a quiet blockade along the otherwise peaceful Maplewood Drive. Ruth stood to the side, her heart pounding as officers bolstered by uniformed detectives set about cordoning off the area. Mediator, Officer Collins. Features serious but softened by concern. We're going to need to ask the neighbors some questions. Do you mind waiting here for a bit? As Officer Collins stepped back to give his colleagues space, the reality of the day began to seep in. The perfect picture of the Thompsons' life was cracking under the weight of unspoken truths. The front door was pried open, and the officers entered, a stark contrast to the cheeriness that had once enveloped the home. Inside, the air felt thick and heavy, muted by the chilling silence of abandonment. Sunlight pierced through the sheer curtains above, casting stripes of light across the meticulously maintained living room, adorned with family photographs that smiled down at the intrusion. But those photographs offered no comfort now. Detectives Sanchez and Reed ventured deeper into the house, pausing at the sight of the dining table, set with half-emptied bowls of cereal, a disquieting reminder of interrupted normalcy. A child's drawing, colors vibrant against the clutter, rested on the floor. "Mommy," it read, scribbled in crayon, the whimsical artwork now a haunting echo of a vanished life. It wasn't long before they made their way upstairs, reluctant yet firm. The master bedroom and children's rooms revealed themselves, a snapshot of intimacy disrupted. In the master bedroom, Jennifer's belongings were still sprawled. Across the dresser, her delicate jewelry glinting as if taunting them. In the depths of it all, the air stilled, thick with a sense of dread. Officer Reed's voice broke the stillness. "We need to check the ensuite," he said, his tone turning grave. A sense of foreboding settled like fog as they opened the bathroom door. The scene that awaited them would shatter their perceptions of safety in Maplewood Drive forever, revealing the darkness that had lain hidden behind the well-maintained facade of a typical family home. The early investigation. As word of Jennifer Thompson's disappearance rippled through Maplewood Drive, the once tranquil neighborhood became a hive of activity, morphed by the urgency of the unfolding investigation. Officer Collins established a command center at the edge of the driveway, where detectives gathered to pool their findings and take stock of the unsettling developments. The atmosphere crackled with tension, a palpable unease that gripped the onlookers. Back in the Thompsons' home, Detective Sanchez meticulously examined the crime scene, taking care to preserve any evidence that might aid in piecing together the events leading to Jennifer's disappearance. With careful deliberation, he collected each item: an overturned chair, a broken piece of jewelry, the way the bathroom door swung ajar, hinting at a struggle. Meanwhile, Officer Reed surveyed the ins and outs of the neighborhood, canvassing neighbors and seeking any shred of information that could lead to the elusive truth. They approached Mrs. Jenkins first, who stood with hands clasped, eyes brimming with worry. He recalled, her voice shaky. He seemed odd, preoccupied. I didn't think much of it at the time. I thought maybe he was working on something, but now her words hung in the air, heavy with implication. A subtle shift in accounts began to emerge. Other neighbors hinted at fleeting glimpses of tension between the Thompsons, igniting suspicion about the family's hidden struggles. Detective Sanchez took note, recognizing that those little details, seemingly insignificant, might weave a larger, more complex narrative. As detectives delved further, they learned of another piece of Jennifer's life: local charity where she volunteered. There had been whispers of conflict brewing among members, unresolved disputes simmering just beneath the surface. The concept of adversity, present in everyday exchanges, now took on a sinister form. With every passing moment, each lead threaded the narrative closer to an impenetrable puzzle. The Thompsons remained shrouded in mystery, and as investigators pieced together Jennifer's life, they braced themselves for revelations that would challenge every perception of this close-knit community, leading them toward a truth that was far more harrowing than anyone could have anticipated. Dead ends. Days turned into a week, but the signs of Jennifer Thompson remained conspicuously absent. The investigation, once brimming with hope, began to unfold into a tangle of threads that led nowhere. Detective Sanchez sat in the glow of his office as he spread photographs and reports across his desk like an unfinished quilt. Each item, every interview, echoed with the same haunting refrain. No one had seen or heard anything after that fateful Friday evening. The interviews with neighbors grew increasingly frustrated. Many offered alibis that couldn't be corroborated, while others spoke of innocuous encounters that seemed to circle back into nothingness. Mrs. Jenkins recounted endless details of neighborhood potlucks and school drop-offs, everything except that crucial insight into the Thompsons that might ignite a new lead. Each interview felt like another door quietly closing, leading Sanchez to grapple with the weight of his growing doubts. Meanwhile, Officer Reed followed a different path, piecing together Jennifer's time at the charity organization. A rally for local families had fallen stagnant, and lingering tensions among volunteers bubbled just beneath a friendly exterior. However, every lead, every supposed conflict shattered against stone walls of denials. Each volunteer seemed consistent in their fervent declarations of support for Jennifer. Yet, the unity felt hollow. One afternoon, Sanchez brought a sense of urgency to the case briefing. We need to reevaluate what we think we know. Community can hide a lot, he said, uncomfortable with the creeping thought that perhaps someone close had insight, but felt it best to remain silent. Then came the call that sent their focus spiraling once more. A break in a separate case led them to a man with a history of violence, an ex-convict who had recently moved back to town. However, his alibi was immovable. He had been out of state during Jennifer's disappearance. Time lapsed, leaving Sanchez scouring through his files, the weight of possibility pressing against his chest like a stone. The frustrations mounted, gnawing at the last vestiges of confidence. With each dead end, it became painfully clear. The shadows were hiding something profound, something that might forever alter the landscape of Maplewood Drive. Unspoken truths lingered, and somewhere within those truths lay the answer no one dared to voice. A break in the case. In the stillness of a chill early morning, hope materialized like the first break of light peeking through the clouds. Officer Reed, poring over the files one last time at his desk, caught sight of a detail that had been overshadowed by the noise of a chaotic investigation. An unassuming report from a local gas station dated the night of Jennifer's disappearance had gone unnoticed. It listed a series of debit purchases, among them a transaction matching Dan's card, revealing a withdrawal made shortly after 10 p.m. Intrigue Reed flipped back to retrieve the surveillance footage captured during that time. As the security tape revealed itself on his monitor, he felt a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Images flickered to life, revealing Amanda Thompson stepping into view, placing a small amount of cash on the counter. His posture seemed tense. The few moments of footage captured his fleeting glances and subtle fidgeting behaviors that suggested more was happening beneath the surface. Reed's heart rate quickened as he focused intently on the screen. But it wasn't just Dan's actions that snagged Reed's attention. A car parked further down the lot caught his eye. The vehicle was unlike the Thompsons' well-known family sedan, marked by a distinctive dent on the left bumper, a random detail hidden in an everyday scene. Yet it resonated like a distant alarm bell ringing at the back of his mind. Driven by adrenaline, Reed scrambled together a report summarizing his findings. "We need to trace that car," he urged Sanchez when they met later that morning, excitement brewing like a storm. They delved into databases, cross-referencing license plates with known vehicles in the area. The breakthrough came when they identified it as belonging to a transient man named Alex Rayner, recently reported in conjunction with other disturbances. With urgency mounting, detectives framed a strategy, delineating every angle of this twist. A team was dispatched to locate Rayner, his past painted with theft and a history of unhinged interaction. As the conversation devolved into measured urgency, they could feel the currents of anticipation shifting the tides of the investigation. Each step brought them closer, the looming sense that their next move could either unlock the mystery or plunge them deeper into a labyrinth of treachery. With everything on the line, they prepared for what might be the key to unearthing Jennifer's fate, fueled by instinct and the inexplicable bond tethered to her absence. The suspect, under the pale glow of a fluorescent light, Alex Rayner sat in the interrogation room, an atmosphere heavy with tension and anticipation. Detective Reed and Officer Sanchez entered, their presence commanding yet tempered with the careful hand of a drawn-out investigation. Rayner looked up, an air of disheveled nonchalance masking the underlying apprehension in his eyes. He rubbed his hands against his jeans, a nervous gesture that echoed throughout the small room. "Mr. Rayner," Sanchez began, his voice steady and controlled, "we need to talk about your vehicle and your whereabouts on the night of April 1st. The date sparkled in the air like an accusation, heavy with unfulfilled echoes of the past. Rayner shrugged, an attempt at defiance. "I don't know what you're talking about," he replied, trying to remain aloof. "I was just passing through town." Reed leaned forward, his gaze penetrating. "Your car was seen near the gas station the night Jennifer Thompson went missing. We know you were there." The words hung in the air, challenging Rayner to poke holes in their narrative. With each question, Rayner's bravado wavered. He shifted in his seat, a nervous tic creeping in, exposing a crack in his carefully constructed facade. "Yeah, I was there getting gas," he muttered. "What's it to you?" Sanchez capitalized on the moment, sliding a photo of the Thompson family across the table. "We believe something happened to her. We think you might know what went down." Rayner flinched, eyes darting as he processed the implication. "I don't know anything. Can't a guy just be in the wrong place at the wrong time?" His strained defense rang hollow, the desperation barely concealing an underlying current of truth. Sensing the window closing, Reed moved to the heart. You have a history, Alex. Are you really telling us you're innocent of this? The interrogation stretched on, and threads of Raynor's story began to fray, each denial punctured by lapses in memory and an inability to maintain eye contact. Details lost their coherence, as if he was trying to weave a fabric that refused to hold together. Time and again, the detectives pressed deeper, pursuing the slightest shift that could yield a breakthrough. With every passing moment, the gravity of Raynor's potential connection to Jennifer's case loomed larger, pregnant with the possibility that the tangled web of circumstance might mark him as far more than just a passerby. The stakes rose sharply as they peered into the abyss, sensing the truth was tantalizingly close and yet frustratingly out of reach. The trial. The air inside the courthouse was thick with tension as the trial of Alex Raynor commenced. The gallery filled with a mix of curiosity and dread. News of Jennifer Thompson's disappearance had gripped the community, drawing a crowd that swelled with voices whispering tales of mistrust and speculation. The prosecution's case was built not only on the threads of circumstantial evidence, but the dark tapestry of Raynor's past stone, marked by violence and instability. Detective Reed sat in the front row, his heart pounding as he exchanged glances with Sanchez, each of them aware that the outcome of this trial would ripple through their lives, shaping memories both haunting and defining. The courtroom buzzed with deliberation as the judge took his seat, signaling the start of what all hoped would finally bring answers. The prosecution delivered its opening statement with precision, detailing the timeline of events leading up to Jennifer's disappearance. They showcased the surveillance footage from the gas station where Raynor's car appeared, juxtaposing innocuous acts with implications of sinister intentions. The image of Raynor, his unkempt hair and rough demeanor, replayed like a ghost over the audience, drawing a murmur of unease. Then came the testimony from witnesses, each adding pieces to the puzzle. Mrs. Jenkins recounted the strange behavior she had observed in Dan after the disappearance, while employees from the charity revealed Jennifer's unwavering dedication to her community, ultimately painting a picture of a woman beloved and deeply integrated into the fabric of Maplewood Drive. But it was Raynor's defense team that delivered the most startling blow. They methodically dismantled the prosecution's narrative, arguing that no concrete evidence connected Raynor to the crime. They brought into question the testimonies of neighbors and volunteers, suggesting they were mere figments of collective hysteria, misguided perceptions fueled by fear rather than facts. As the hours turned into days, Reed and Sanchez felt the precarious balance shift with each recess. The courtroom became a battleground of accusations and emotions, where hope twisted into anxiety and uncertainty loomed large. Unfolding evidence revealed complications, Dan's alibi showing some cracks, and Raynor's claims of being an innocent bystander had begun to morph into broader doubt. Ultimately, the culmination of words and testimonies wound down to the closing arguments. The atmosphere shifted palpably, and Reed felt the knot tightening in his stomach. Would justice be served, or would the truth, having remained elusive for far too long, seep back into the shadows, leaving behind yet another chapter in the saga of a vanishing? The jury's deliberation felt weighty, and the potential verdict hung like a ghost, lingering on the cusp of realization, tethered to the unyielding hope that Jennifer Thompson was not just a fading whisper in the fabric of memory. The aftermath. A sense of closure settled uneasily over Maplewood Drive like a soft blanket, broken only by the reverberations of shock that spread through the community the moment the verdict was announced. The jury had found Alex Rayner guilty of the charges against him: abduction and assault, but the whispers lingered, laden with questions that seemed unbearable. Had they truly found justice for Jennifer, or had they simply chosen the scapegoat to satiate the restless need for answers? In the stillness of her home, Mrs. Jenkins prepared a candlelight vigil for Jennifer, the flickering flames illuminating her own doubts as she faced the neighborhood community. A gathering of grief and solidarity, it drew neighbors and friends together, pooling memories into a collective reservoir of love for a woman forever mythologized in the interrupted rhythms of daily life. The Thompsons' absence weighed heavy in the air, a pervasive reminder that the aftermath of loss bore a weight no one could measure. At the center of the room, Detective Reed sat with his family, bracing against haunted memories. He had poured countless hours into this case, yet the shadows of doubt clung to him with a relentless fervor. How could they convict without knowing her fate? Feeling the despair settle like an anchor, he grappled with the inadequacy of his impact in a community crying for clarity. The trial's outcome sent shockwaves beyond the confines of the courtroom. Rayner was a symbol, yes, but the truth remained elusive, dancing just outside their collective grasp. In interviews following the trial, he vehemently proclaimed his innocence, claiming he was simply a pawn caught in a cruel game. Meanwhile, the Thompsons' children, Lily and Mark, were at the forefront of everyone's minds, their futures uncertain as they navigated the yawning void left by their mother's absence. Community programs sprang up, offering support, but no amount of help could quite fill the hollowness within their heart. Over the weeks that followed, as evidence continued to surface, suggesting buried secrets in Jennifer's life, a charitable event gone wrong, a confrontation with a fellow volunteer detective, Sanchez, felt the stirring of renewed urgency. He sifted through old files while Reed tried to decipher the whispers of the townsfolk. Both felt the flicker of possibility reigniting within them, a faint glimmer of hope that maybe the real answers lay not in the courtroom, but in the everyday lives still entwined in shadows. As they reignited their pursuit for clarity, Reed recognized a powerful truth. The aftermath of a crime could lead to redemption for some, but for others, it was merely the beginning of a quest for answers buried so deep that no verdict could ever illuminate them. The lives of the Thompsons remained intricately woven into the fabric of Maplewood Drive, drawing both camaraderie and grief that refused to dissolve with a simple final word. The past loomed large, and with it, a haunting promise of unveiling layers yet untouched. Reflection. In the wake of the trial, life on Maplewood Drive unearthed its own painful truths. Detective Reed often found himself wandering the very streets he had patrolled, each corner steeped in memories of laughter and happiness that now felt ghostly, overshadowed by their sorrowful content. The vibrant life of the Thompsons those afternoons spent teaching children to ride bikes, the smell of freshly baked cookies wafting from open windows felt impossibly distant. Each evening, as the sun slipped beyond the horizon, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, he would find a comfortable spot at the local park. Watching the children play, he felt a pang of guilt and longing, memories of Lily and Mark's innocent laughter echoing in his mind. Conversations turned from hope for answers to whispers about the what-ifs, and would they ever see justice truly served? It was at one such gathering that he caught sight of the bench where Jennifer once sat during community meetings. her laughter still suspended in the air. Reed committed to uncovering the deeper truths, feeling a sense of responsibility toward the Thompsons, particularly to help mark a path forward for the children who had lost so much. The pursuit of the elusive narrative became a tangible goal, pushing him to dig beyond the surface and uncover connections that had evaded him during the tumultuous months of investigation. Reflecting on the intricate web of humanity, he realized that every individual was a story unto themselves, affected deeply by those around them. As time moved on, the memories of Jennifer would weave into the very identity of the community, a reminder of not just the shadows that lingered, but also of the strength found in pursuing the light. The desire for truth became a shared journey, an acknowledgement that though darkness interspersed their lives, would not suffocate the hope for healing. The Thompsons had left an indelible mark on Maplewood Drive, sparking an urgency in everyone to look closer, to listen deeper, to ensure that no story, especially one wrapped in loss, would fade unnoticed into the night.